Hello, welcome to another Tech Tuesday. Today we will be looking at this tablet. This is the Doogee T30 Pro. I think I'm pronounced that right, I still don't know. And it looks like a tablet does. And you might be thinking, did you not do this one before? And the answer is no. I did the Doogee T20 Pro and now they've updated it. And so we'll be looking at what are the differences between these today. First off, I'll show you what's in the box and what happened when we unboxed it. So here's the unboxing, and in the box you get, a piece of foam to protect things. If we take the tablet out, it's already installed in this sort of leather protector. And also in here we have this screen protector. I thought it was a screen protector. I expected to peel it off and see a screen protector underneath. But unless that screen protector is exactly the same dimensions, exactly as a screen, there isn't one. I did have a look to make sure it didn't sort of come off with the other thing, and it definitely wasn't. So I think the screen protector is just there for sort of transit. Also in there you've got a USB-C plug. This is Europe, so no good to me. Some instructions. You'll see you've got one of the little things there for poking the hole and putting in a SIM card. You've got USB-C to USB-C charge port, and you've got the little stylus for writing with. So I'd say the T30 Pro is more of an evolution than a revolution and stuff, but I turned it on and I thought, well, that looks a bit nicer. What's the deal there? And I had a look at the specs and the hardware to see what had changed, and there were little bits and pieces that have improved stuff. So the original has a 10.4 inch screen, this has an 11 inch screen. This also has a high resolution, with the original having a resolution of 1200 by 2000. This has 1600 by 2560, both in 16 by 10 aspect ratio. They both have 8 gig of RAM, 256 gig of internal storage. You can stick an SD card in and get an extra terabyte if anybody buys an SD card that big. Slight increase in CPU performance, with the original T20 Pro having a Unisoc T616 running at 2 GHz. This guy a Helio G99 at 2.2 GHz. Slightly better CPU basically. Slight improvement on the GPU. It's like another evolution of the same chip. Very slight difference in battery. The new one has an 8580 mAh battery. The previous one 8300. Really not much in that. Camera slightly improved. You have the little selfie camera at the front here. That's both an 8 megapixel one. The main camera, which you can see on the back here, is 20 megapixel. Previously it was just 16. And I couldn't figure out, I was looking at the screen, I thought it's brighter. Did I just have the brightness up? It's slightly more nits. 300 nits on the original, 350 on this new one. But what I thought I'd do, I'd look at this and put it through the same sort of test scenario as I did with the old one. I used a bunch of emulated games, I used some native Android stuff, and then I put it through the quite intensive 3D graphics CPU benchmark, see if it will run my sim okay, and stuff like that. So let's crack on and see how it performs. Oh, I should just mention, this is the pen that was in the box, and I said previously I was confused by this bit because it didn't seem to do anything, and many people in the comments say, hey, there's a little plastic cover on that, and if you take that off, it's a regular pen. They were right, it is. So by default you get this one in the pack, and on the other side is this little weird square bit which can work to actually touch the screen, and you've always got the optional extra of this one, which is a powered pen which you can write on, and it's supposed to do pressure sensitivity, but I still don't know how this works or what app you need to use it. I'll try and find it again. Anyway, on with the testing. Now, in all these tests, I decided to point my camera at the screen rather than doing, video out to HDMI capture or something like that. I thought that was a truer way of showing how it looked on the display, although you will see, some artifacts from the light shining on it, and if you see this strange dim figure slightly in there, that's the reflection of me. So we're starting off and we're just checking Mega Drive emulation is okay, and it certainly seems to be. This is Sonic free, and I'm using an Xbox One joystick that I've connected with Bluetooth. I'm going to whiz through these quite quickly because this is slightly more powerful than the previous one, and the previous one handled these fine. So this is SNES emulation. This is playing Super Mario Kart. and a little bit of Super Mario World because it's my favourite 2D Mario game. Next, we're moving over to N64 emulation with Mario 64, or is it Super Mario 64? I can't remember. And this again is running at full frame rate, although full frame rate on the N64 wasn't necessarily either 30 or 60 frames. It did vary an awful lot. But this is super playable. Even on like not an N64 joystick, it's absolutely fine, and you get a decent experience playing it. Here's a quick bit of Wave Race 64 because I still love this game. I think the water physics in this are absolutely fantastic, even probably better than the follow-up version they did on the GameCube. But yep, that's playing really nicely too. So over to PlayStation 1 emulation, and this is Tekken 3 running quite happily at 60 frames a second, as you'd expect, but it's still really nice to see. And again, very, very playable on a decent joystick. I wouldn't ever try and use screen controls for this, but just connect a joystick and you're absolutely fine. Dreamcast emulation now using Redream, and once again Sonic Adventure here running at 60 frames a second. Sonic Adventure is a weird one. I finished the game on my sort of original Dreamcast, but I'm still get sort of messed up with the fact that it sort of changes directions, but you don't necessarily have to sort of change what you're doing with the joystick. It's kind of like almost tank controls in some way, where forward is forward, but you don't have to be facing in a certain direction, but other times you do, which is really weird. Anyway, running absolutely fine and at full speed. So the big one I wanted to test is PlayStation 2 emulation, and last time we were getting about 20 frames when we were trying to play the game, if we're lucky, and we got abysmal performance on the initial intro to the game. This is a lot better. I wouldn't call it a PlayStation 2 playable thing. However, once we actually start the game and start driving, we do get between sort of 40 to 60 frames depending what's going on the screen. If we're outside and there's a bunch of cars around, we get sort of 30 to 40. If we go into a tunnel like here, you'll notice we go up to sort of more like 60 frames a second, so we get full frame rate. So it's playable, but I certainly wouldn't recommend this as a sort of PlayStation 2 emulation machine. It's just the fact that you can see the improvement from the T20 Pro. It's like about double the frame rate, which is an awful lot better. You know, it's getting there, it's almost there. So with that in mind, I turned to the 3D Mark Slingshot demo, which is the real decent test of 3D graphics, and visibly it's looking faster. It's not looking, you know, smooth as silk 60 frames a second. This is pretty intensive stuff for this little machine. However, it did look much better. So after it does the full animation, I let it run through its various benchmarks of different things. There's physics tests and drawing tests and lighting tests, and it eventually came out with a figure of 3059 for the overall score. And I think this is pretty significant because if we compare it to the T20, it's pretty much double. And if you have a look at the frame rates in the graphics score, you can see they're pretty much double as well. So although we've got a slight evolution in components, what they've added up to is about double in the 3D graphics performance, which is really good. So another way of playing stuff is by streaming. So the example might be, oh, I want to play my PS5 but I want to go to bed. Can I play it in bed? And you can, using remote play. So what I did, I hooked my PS5 controller via Bluetooth up to this, and I started this game of Wipeout, of which I'm particularly terrible at, especially when sort of sat on the floor trying to look through a viewfinder and in a weird position. But hey, it worked, and obviously by doing this you're streaming the graphics from the PS5, which would be on your local network, and you get stuff which is far beyond what you can expect to get from a regular tablet. And here's The Witcher 3, which I've now spent over 100 hours on. I've nearly finished, I'm just doing the last DLC. And of course you can just go ahead and turn your PS5 off. Of course you need a PS5 on your local network to play this. But if you are an Xbox Game Pass member, which I am, you don't actually need your local Xbox to be on the network. And again, I hooked up my Xbox One controller here, and what I'm going to do is stream Forza Horizon 5 from the cloud. This is very clever stuff from Microsoft, and what they do, they actually sync all your save data from your cloud save and then stick it into the game. So you basically, it's as if you're playing a local game, but you're not. The fact the data saved on the cloud means what if you're playing locally or you're playing on the cloud, you get exactly the same data, which is pretty amazing. I didn't do a particularly good job of demonstrating this because I'm kind of in the desert with a high performance hypercar looking for a road, and then when I find one I mostly crash and stuff. I'm much better when I play properly, honestly. And amazingly, you can even stream things like Flight Simulator. Now this is me taking off from Southampton Airport, which is close to where I live, and here I am sort of following along the river. This is either going to be the River Itchen or the River Hamble that leads to Southampton Water and into the Solent. I really enjoy Flight Simulator, but not as a sort of like I enjoy flying a flight simulator. I kind of use it as the most amazing Google Maps, or Bing Maps in this case, way of exploring, and you just fly around places I know or I've been to and think, oh, this is fun. And it is fun. And again, this is the graphical fidelity that you just could not get on this tablet without it being streamed. And the cloud streaming from Microsoft here is pretty amazing. Some of the games you can play with touchscreen. Most of them really do benefit from using a joystick, and some of them just won't work at all with a touchscreen. It insists on a joystick. This is one of the ones that does. Okay, well, we've talked about other people's games and how to play them for a while, so now let's plug something in. This is the USB-C to USB-C cable that came in there. I'm going to attach one of these to my Radiomaster Boxer, and then we're going to select USB joystick. By doing that, I should be able to go to my sim. Other sims are of course available, but this is the one I'll be demoing with. So in the previous version, i.e. the T20, things didn't play all that well and I had to go to minimum resolution. Now on this one I have dropped the resolution. We're at 1080 by 640. We're at medium resolution, so we could do some different things there. I'm going to show the frame counter, and the joystick I've already set up, so I've got throttle and pitch there. Actually we don't need dead zone at all there, and I've got a couple of things set, like this is reset and the other side is flip, so then we should be able to go ahead and fly this. And we get a decent frame rate on this one, it's not too bad at all. The way this sim works is, generally speaking, as you go on the different levels, each level is a little bit more graphically intensive. So this one is fairly simple, and we're getting, 58, 59 frames per second. As good as 60 frames per second as we're going to get. We could mess around with the settings to do something else, but I'm not going to in this situation. I'm just going to go down this pipe here and come out through there. Right, so if we go, and what I'll do is, I'll just show once we change levels, I'll go ahead and say show the sticks so you can see what's going on. Now this is a fairly graphically intense level. Let's do a bit of plane chasing, shall we? So we've got something going on at least. So it sort of jumps around. It's a bit lower on this one. I could bring down the graphical level again. I could drop the resolution. But as it is, I feel this is a fairly good mix. This isn't too bad. There's a lot of geometry on this level. There's a lot going on, and it does okay. It does a lot better than the last one. We really had to minimise the whole resolution and detail down to their very lowest to get anything near a decent frame rate. It's sort of zipping about 40-ish frames. Between 40 and 50 seems okay. Don't seem to notice. When it dips under 30, you certainly notice that one, but it's not doing too bad. That's that one. So let's try the last level, which is, generally speaking, the graphically most intensive. The valley level. of wide. Let's chase a couple of cars on this one for the hell of it. Okay. And again, this one's graphically intensive just because it's got so many damn trees going on, and quite a lot of, you know, landscape, which isn't simply a few boxes. Did I have the speed set on slow or something? I think I did. Did a little bit slow. Let's go on ahead and we can have a look over the bridge and stuff. Here goes the slow cars. But yeah, I think this is doing quite a reasonable job. It's pretty playable. You just have to remember these things about not using the full resolution, because that is pretty intensive. I also noticed that on the T20, which was running, I think, Android 12, we had problems with the resolution. I fixed that in the code, but I haven't released that yet. And this one on Android 13 doesn't seem to have that problem. It's all pretty good. It knows that it's got a certain resolution, so I can generate these sort of fake resolutions and kind of go from there. Anyway, generally speaking, if my sim plays reasonably well and we can obviously connect up the radio, then for any other sim that you can play on mobile, you'll get the same sort of result. Okay, now talking of drone stuff, what I got plugged in there is a USB OTA adapter into this. So if I now open up Betaflight, so we should have, yeah, that's okay. And this is pretty much a full version of Betaflight. You can change just about everything in here, except I think is the CLI slightly limited or something. I might be wrong. Well, it seems to allow me to do stuff, so that's good. So yeah, that's obviously very good. If you're out in the field, you need to make some adjustments. Often where I go horribly wrong is with the OSD, and I end up wanting to know, do some stuff and move things around, but which I've just done. Now I have to move it back again. Like that. But yeah, good stuff there. And then, you know, you've got the basic stuff, like, you know, you've got Chrome, and that's fine, it's pretty quick. You've got YouTube on there, and this seems to run pretty decently as well. I'm pretty happy with the sort of stuff it gives you there. You get a proper HD resolution. So that is in auto at the moment. Choose high picture quality. The only thing I find with these, all these sort of things, is they seem to default to whatever they want to do. So you actually have to sort of specify to go like 1440p, for example. There's some actual HD, well, more HD-ish footage from this bit. Yeah, fairly happy with that. Everything's good, quality's good. It's pretty easy to sort of navigate around and get all different things in and gubbins like that. All very easy, as kind of you expect. And you've got the whole the regular Google stuff on here. So you've got Gmail and meetings, and there's the assistant over turn on the Play Store, all that sort of gubbins. So the other thing this came with, once again, is, well, two things. We've got this pen, which will allow you to basically use as a virtual finger. If you go into some sort of paint application, like high paint here, then that works generally quite well. Just zipping stuff about there. Actually, how it would be to like draw is, I don't know, because I can't draw except occasionally this sort of little shark thing. What you don't get in the box is this one, which is powered, but as I said before, although it says it gives like 1024 types of pressure. I don't know how it works. I don't know the application you can use it with, but I suppose this tip is a bit more accurate than this blobby one. This is more equivalent to using your finger. This is a little bit better, but you know, people with actual artistic ability would be able to tell me more there. So the other thing we got was a keyboard, and last time I had problems with the keyboard. I had some sticky keys that just wouldn't work, so I'm hoping this time it's going to be better. And this is what the box looks like. I haven't taken it out yet, so let's get it out and see. And as before, we got some keys, we got the connector there, and I think we need to take it out of this case to put it in, so let me do that now. Okay, it's in the keyboard. It does replace the regular case, but let's see if it actually works. Hopefully it's going to. Let's find out. That's not so bad, except the enter key wasn't quite what I expected. Yeah, that works quite well. If you can't read what I typed there, it says, yes, hooray, this actually works a lot better and the keyboard has a nice feel to it. It actually does. And of course, I forgot you've got a little trackpad here, so you don't have to use the your finger. It's much more of a PC-like experience, and it's particularly helpful for me because this is obviously a lot smaller than the laptop and just folds down to essentially the same size. And you've got a little flap so you can still use the camera and stuff, so that's all good. I mean, I use it for writing. I say I use it for writing. I write on a word processor quite a lot rather than, you know, typing things into Chrome, but that's obviously a lot better than having to use the virtual keyboard. If we go to see, we could use the web version of YouTube pretty easily. Oh, that comes up with mobile, interestingly. We could add tabs there, so we could go to, well, one of those, or just go to GitHub. Yeah, the only thing that's slightly messing me up is I'm expecting the enter to have, you know, they sort of come in as sort of almost like a little Tetris piece. So I'm pressing over here, expecting to hit it, and it's a very little enter key. So I just need to be aware of that a bit more. But yeah, that's all good. So from a productivity point of view, I'm fairly happy about this. There's nothing bad about it. Got a good connection there and a good keyboard. That's really working nicely. Nice. Now the things we haven't talked about is things like the camera, for example. You can see me using the forward camera, and that's got the lower pixel resolution. So what I'm going to do is just go outside, shoot a little bit of video, shoot some pictures, see what happens, see what sort of results we get there. Yeah, this is just a video, just filming outside. It's very difficult to see the screen, but you know, I'm just turning around. The dog is wanting her tea, so that's why she's happy to see me. So the only problem I had there is trying to get the video and the photo onto my Mac. When I plugged it in USB, I expected it to go into file transfer mode. I've got the Android file transfer program on my Mac, and that normally works fine. It works fine with the T20 and my other Android tablet. Didn't seem to want to work with this, which is weird. But I don't know if that's a Mac thing. Often when you plug stuff into a Mac, it says stuff like, well, this isn't an iPhone, what are you trying to do to me? It's not exactly Android friendly, and the USB ports seem to work fine with the radio and stuff, so I'm guessing that's a Mac thing, and if you're on Windows you're probably okay. Mac users, slightly beware though if something's going on there. A couple of things I forgot to point out, which are kind of the same as last time, which is within here you've got a little pop-out thing, so you could put a SIM card in. You could put up to 2 SIM cards in, or a SIM card and a micro SD card, so you can put up to like a 2 terabyte SD card in there, which is crazy. Another interesting feature, which I also forgot to mention, is whereas the last one just had USB-C for connectivity and had a little adapter for headphones, this actually has a little 3.5mm jack. I know I find it quite annoying, like I want to plug my regular headphones in and then I have to look for an adapter in that, so that's quite a nice thing. So that is the end of the review. What do I think of it? I think it's a pretty nice little tablet. Certainly a big improvement on the T20. It seemed like small little bits of improvement, but they all seem to mount up overall to a good improvement in performance, so that's pretty good. This is what I would call a mid-range tablet. This is coming in right now at about $299. The previous one is $259, so it's a bit of a non-brainer about, like, would you spend an extra $40 to go from the T20 to T30? Yes, absolutely. Now, your low-end tablet, this is a $100 Amazon thing, will be okay for web surfing, but it will lack you down in stuff like gaming and productivity. And the higher end stuff, which can probably do a lot more and certainly play the better games and do better 3D performance, going upwards of like $1,000. So this is why this is sort of mid-range. It's a pretty good mid-range thing, but it is a very competitive space. There's a lot of very good tablets out there. So this is pretty good, but always do your homework, shop around, check if it's the right thing for you. But yeah, there's a lot I like about this. I like the fact I can, you know, play lots of games, because that's what I do. I really like the fact that the keyboard works very well. The keyboard's like another $54 or something, but it's not a bad price because it hooks you up and you've got essentially like a laptop experience. But I've got to say the screen is really very nice on this. It's very nice and bright. It's very colourful. I'm really liking that. I'm happy to work on that for a long period. I say work, I mean play some games and stuff. But yeah. Anyway, that is the Doogee T30 Pro, kindly supplied by Doogee, and of course if you want to check it out in more detail, there'll be links down below. I hope that's been helpful, and I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Tech Tuesday. I'm sure we'll do some more, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.